With sales activity continuing to decline in the month of September and inventory starting to accumulate at a more rapid pace, we finally started seeing prices declining. It's clear the market has shifted, but how much have prices declined and what does this mean for buyers and sellers? I'm Adina Dragasanu with Adina YVR Vancouver Real Estate Group and OAKWYN Realty, here with your October 2023 market update. Let's jump right into the numbers and take a look at what's going on. The Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver reported that we had 1,926 home sales in the month of September. While this is up about 13% relative to this time last year, it's down 16% relative to August, and it's 26% below the 10-year sales average for the month of September. In the month of September, we had 5,446 homes newly listed for sale on the MLS. This is an increase of 38% relative to August, it's an increase of 28% relative to September last year, and it's up about 5% relative to the 10-year sales average. This brings our total supply of homes available for sale on the MLS to 11,382. This is up about 13% relative to August. It's up about 9% relative to this time last year. However, it's still down about 6% relative to the 10-year sales average for the month of September. To see how this is impacting pricing, let's take a look at our sales to active listings ratio. As you recall, this is our leading indicator showing us if prices are on their way up or down. And simply what we're looking at is the number of sales in a given month divided by the total active listings left over at the end of that month. When this ratio is above 21%, prices are typically on their way up, and this is what we call a seller's market. When this ratio is below 12%, prices are typically on their way down, and this is what we call a buyer's market. Anything between 12 to 20% is typically a balanced market where prices stabilize. For the month of September, this ratio was at 17.7%. So we're technically in balanced market territory. But what's key to look at here is that this ratio has been trending downward since the spring, and it's now the lowest it's been since January of this year when it was at 13.7%. Currently, we're right on par with where the market was in December and November last year. By property type, this ratio is currently at 12.5% for detached homes, 21.5% for townhomes, and 21% for apartment condos. Again, these match very closely with the ratios we were seeing in December last year, when we were at 12.3% for detached homes, 19.5% for townhomes, and just over 21.5% for apartment condos. So let's take a look at exactly where we're at with prices. The HPI benchmark price for all property types is currently at $1,203,300. This is down 0.4% relative to August, and it's still up about 4.4% relative to September of last year. Looking at this by property type, we see that the benchmark price for detached homes is currently at $2,017,100. This represents a decrease of 0.1% relative to August, and it's an increase of 5.8% relative to September of last year. For attached townhomes and duplexes, the HPI benchmark price is currently $1,098,400. This is a decrease of 0.5% relative to August, and it's an increase of 5.3% relative to September last year. And for apartment condos, the HPI benchmark price is currently $768,500. This represents a decrease of 0.2% relative to August, and it's up 5.8% relative to September last year. So if you're a buyer or seller in this marketplace, what does this mean for you? Well, frankly, if you're a seller and you've been wanting to sell your home, you've missed the peak of the market. You're likely not going to get the highest price that you would have gotten in the spring, and you're going to have to be more strategic about how you position your home to provide value and attract buyers. With less than 18 homes selling for every 100 homes listed on the market, you really need to be strategic about how you attract buyers' attention. That means you need to be priced sharply and show really well. For buyers, this is welcome news. You finally have the ball back in your court. You have more selection of homes to choose from, and you have the ability to negotiate and even put in subject conditions in your offer. This wasn't possible for most buyers in the spring market. That said, you also have to keep in mind the seller's motivation and the price point you're in. In many markets, we are seeing a bit of negotiating room, but it's not drastic unless there's something significantly wrong with the property or the seller is extremely motivated. If you're a buyer, one of the biggest submarkets we're seeing opportunity in is the downtown market. Currently, the downtown market is sitting at a 12% sales to active listings ratio, making it buyer's market territory. Over the last month, we've seen sales decrease by 25% and inventory increase by 19%. Currently, there are 1,066 condos available for sale downtown. This is the highest we've seen since November 2020. Looking at the east side and west side of Vancouver, we're seeing a similar trend with the biggest declines happening in the condo segment. On the west side of Vancouver, the sales to active listings ratio for condos and townhomes is currently at 19%. This is down from 28% in the month of August. And we see that sales have decreased 22%, whereas inventory has increased 15% over the last month. On the east side of Vancouver, the sales to active listings ratio is currently at 23%. This is still seller's market territory, but it's down from 37% in the month of August. And again, in this market, we've seen sales decline 25% and inventory increasing 19%. And again, the opportunity and challenges here will be temporary. As we've seen in the Vancouver marketplace, nothing stays the same for a long period of time. So we're encouraging a lot of our buyers to start looking for these opportunities. While we've obviously seen the market finally starting to soften out, we have to remember it's still pretty active given how high rates are. We're currently at 10-year highs for interest rates, over 6.5% for many borrowers, and yet the market is still moving along. My advice to our clients right now, generally speaking of course, is that if you're a buyer, start paying attention to opportunities. If the market is this hot as these high interest rates, when interest rates drop down, it's very likely we're going to see prices increase. If you're a seller and thinking of selling right now, only go on the market if you're committed to selling and it makes sense for you to make that move now. It's very likely that if you hold on for another 2 to 3 years, prices will bounce back up. If you're thinking of making a move, whether that means buying or selling in this market and you'd like to work with our team, I invite you to schedule a consultation. If you're watching this on Instagram, just click the link in my bio. And if you're watching this on YouTube, just click the link below in the description. In the meantime, to stay up to date with what's happening in the market, be sure to follow me on Instagram at adina.ybr and click subscribe here on YouTube. Have a great rest of the month, and I can't wait to see you in November.